Hello, this is Judy Bartkowiak here from NLP and EFT Kids, continuing to talk about friendship. In fact, I had a client yesterday who was really going back into the new term. She's year 7. So just beginning to make new friends in the new school and perhaps finding out who is and isn't her friend. And this is very much a theme that I find comes up all the time when I'm working with teens in particular. Friendship issues really do come up daily, and it can be quite tricky because what can happen is that mums are inclined to over rescue and sort of, try to sort, try to fix, try to make suggestions, and so on. And this isn't always very helpful. The idea really that is more helpful is to introduce children to the idea that these aren't facts, that this child may or may not want to include you in their group, or that they've gone out and they've deliberately excluded you from an outing, or whatever. These are beliefs. And that's where we ended with the last podcast about friendship. We were talking about beliefs, some beliefs being limiting, and certainly there are lots of limiting beliefs around friendships, and believing that your friends have deliberately excluded you or are talking about you behind your back or anything like that. These are limiting beliefs. More resourceful beliefs would be that maybe you just happen to miss a message. Maybe you misunderstood an arrangement. Maybe you just weren't there at the time that they were talking about it. It could be that, in fact, what we're doing, and this is a sort of rather a CBT type of approach, is we're sort of generalizing, or they always leave me out, they never include me, they're always talking about me. Sort of generalization, catastrophizing, dramatizing, making it all about you, when actually it may not be about you at all or your child. It may simply be a misunderstanding, or maybe you weren't there, when they were talking about it. Something maybe quite simple that can easily be resolved. So a more resourceful belief would be to believe that maybe there's been a misunderstanding, maybe it's quite easy to sort out, maybe to make sure that you maybe suggest something next time. The thing is, beliefs are very easy to change. They're not facts, but so often children treat them as facts. They treat them as absolute concrete facts, that they said this, they meant this, that this means this. No, look at what other options there are. What other beliefs could you make about that particular event, that particular thing that happened? Think of something that would be a better belief to have. So when, as a parent, just ask your child or teen, what other reason could there be for this to have happened? Let's be imaginative, let's be creative and think about what other possibilities there could be. Um, get Have a conversation with children about what makes a good friend. What they look for in a friend. What are their values? What's important to them? What do they consider to be friendship material? What have they got to offer as a friend, and what do they look for in a friend? Quite often a teen will say, being there for me, being available. Or it could be something like being on time when we make an arrangement. It's not very pleasant standing around on a street corner waiting for someone, wondering where they are. So, what's important to them? What do they look for? And to think as well about what is not okay. A lot of my clients have problems with boundaries. Saying yes when they mean no, allowing friends to treat them in a way that that isn't acceptable, that's not very nice, that could be unkind, without actually you know calling this up and calling them out on this. It's not okay to allow friends, so-called friends, to treat you badly, and that's something that it's important for them to realise and to say, "Hey, this isn't okay." or whatever way that they would use to do that. And if necessary, to block somebody from their social media, from following, or whatever, to decide to not actually go and hang out with that particular group. So an NLP technique that's particularly useful for making friends is the NLP modeling technique. And what we do there is we encourage our child to look around the class, the playground, and to think about who amongst their friends finds it easy to make friends. Who do they feel is a good model of how to make friends, how to be a good friend, how to draw people to you, how to be sort of popular in your group. So to find that person, to name that person, and then to think, I want to model the way that that child makes friends. So what we do is we observe. How do they do it? You know what? No, literally, what do they do? Do they go up to people? Do they suggest something? Are they the ones that sort of lead on the idea of what sort of activity or what's going to happen? Observe, listen, be curious. How does it happen? What do they say? How do they do it? How do they do what they do? And then the really interesting bit is to guess what the underlying belief is that that person has, that child has, who finds it easy to make friends. And the chances are that their underlying belief is not the same as your child who's struggling. A likely underlying belief that a child that finds it easy to make friends might have is, people want to be my friend. It's easy to make friends. It's easy to be, popular in my group. It's easy to start a conversation. People want to be my friend. Now, the chances are that that child who's thinking, I don't have any friends, I don't know how to make friends, is probably thinking, it's hard to make friends. It's hard to start a conversation. I don't know what to say. I go all dumb when, nervous around people. I don't think people want to be my friend. So those are limiting beliefs. The first set that I told you were resourceful beliefs. So if you think something's going to be easy, it will be. And if you think something's going to be difficult, it will be. So, and also another thing to think about is not everybody wants to have lots of friends. If, say, you as a parent are somebody who has lots of friends, who used to have lots of friends as a child, it's very easy to think, oh, well, my child only has 2 or 3 friends, that's not enough. But remember that your child is not necessarily the same as you. Some children actually are quite happy to have 1, 2, 3 friends. Others want to have a whole load of friends, and of course it does change as they get older. In primary school, in sort of year 1, 2, 3, it could well be that the whole class is your friend. But as you get towards sort of year 6 and heading off to secondary school, you're going to be much more choosy, much more particular, much more specific. You know these people much better, and you know what they're like. You know who you can trust, who you don't trust, and who you enjoy hanging out with. So you might well be down to sort of 2 or 3 friends, maybe one special friend. And that's perfectly fine. We don't want to put onto our children the idea that, they're not good enough because they don't have enough friends. So just have a chat with them about, how many friends, whether they're happy with the friends that they've got. Is there somebody specifically they'd like to make friends with? Maybe somebody that they've sort of been, on the periphery of a particular friendship group, and they really want to sort of get into that friendship group, to talk about how they might do that and to sort of develop a strategy. So I would say that think as well when we talk about modeling, think about where a child has the skills to connect. Think of it in a bigger chunk way rather than making a friend. It's about making connections. And I found that quite often children have these skills in their sport. So maybe on the football pitch or on the netball court, they may have to indicate to another player, I'm free, pass the ball to me. That involves eye contact, it involves body language, it involves communicating such that the other team perhaps don't see or hear, but you're communicating, send the ball to me, pass the ball to me, throw it to me. And then when you've got the ball, you're communicating to other people on that pitch, on that court, I want to throw it to you, and you go this way or that way or whatever. They do know how to communicate. They do know they have these skills, but they may be within the sort of sports sort of environment, and they don't realize that actually those very same skills, that decision, I'm going to communicate to you, I'm going to pass the ball to you, is exactly the same as I want to be your friend, I want to talk to you, I want to, hang out with you or whatever. So think about where they have those skills. What do they have to? What resource do they have already? Are they somebody who can tell a good joke? Do they have a great sense of humour? Are they very kind? Do they notice things? Do they look out for their friends? Find some ways in which they can enhance those skills and to really connect and to think about how easy it is, how it's easy for them to make friends. Think of maybe you've been on holiday somewhere, you've been camping with your family, and your child who is struggling with friendships actually found it really easy to make a friend on that camping trip. Just remind them that they can do it and they have done it, and ask them to tune into that and to focus on that belief. Okay, I'll leave that with you, and I'll be back soon to talk a bit more about friendship and how you can use art and other ways to discuss this with your child.